Oh, hi there, and welcome to a brand new section. Section 3, a bit of structure. So, what is this section 3 all about? Let's go through a quick section overview to see what we're going to learn in this new section. Basically, our goal is to improve the to-do API we have made earlier, and we're going to use more generic and robust solutions. Explaining more on that, we're going to create a more generic routing mechanism that we're going to get away with that web.xml file. So we no longer need to change XML files to add new routes, to maintain, and to use our API. And we're going to introduce the concept of route definitions and handlers. And we're going to use those concepts to create a more generic routing solution. We're also going to do some overall tidying up of the code. We're going to do some refactorings. And basically that's the goal for the section. So let's go to the first video, and it's going to be the router concept. So in this video, our goal is to introduce this concept of the router, which is something new we haven't actually used before because we're using that web.xml file to do the route for us. We're going to get rid of that. We're actually going to have a web.xml file, but we're not going to change it anymore. And then we're going to create our very own router. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So this is the code we had for our to-do API last time. And as we can see, every servlet we have, we need to map here in this web.xml file. So for now, we have two servlets. And let's consider that these two servlets are very similar. They perform operations. They have routes related to very much the same thing. They are mapped in separate servlets here because they have different starting URLs. And also, if I'd like to add more routes and I'd like to create more servlets, I need to add mappings here to this file and add and add and add. And we don't like to mess with XML files because they're not programming, and we like to program, and they're harder to maintain, they're harder to test, they're harder to refactor. So how can we overcome this limitation of the Servlet API? Well, it's really easy actually. What we can do is we're going to have a single mapping here. So this is going to be our only mapping, but we're not going to map to a to-do specific servlet. We're going to create a route servlet. And this servlet is going to be responsible for actually receiving every single request, and it's going to map that request to the appropriate destination. So we're going to create the router servlet soon, and it's going to make more sense what I'm talking about. But for now, let's create this route servlet name here, and we're going to map actually every single URL. So anything is going to be matched to this route servlet, and it's going to go to a new class. So we're going to create this very new class here, and actually to get things a bit tied up already, let's start with that. Let's create a few packages. So let's create a router package, and this is where our router servlet class and other things like that are going to live. And let's also create a to-do package. This package is going to be responsible for holding everything we have relating to to-dos. And of course, when we have more routes and more entities, we're going to have more packages, and this way everything is going to be organized. So we're just refactoring things and putting things inside here. Okay, now we're going to create inside of this. Let's create a new class. Let's call it router servlet. Great. So we now have this to do. We have this router, and we have this other file that it can stay here. It just doesn't match any package, just a neutral class. And then here we're going to have router.routerServlet. So we are mapped, and the idea is we no longer need to mess. So what's okay? So it needs to be a servlet. We can just fix that just so it doesn't give this error for us. So it's going to be very similar to the servlets we had before, so our to-do servlets. Just going to extend this HTTP servlet class that we have already seen, and then we can extend the do get, do post, and other methods here. So our web.xml file, we're not going to change anymore, not mess with that, because every single route is being mapped to this class. And that's it. If you want more routes, you're not going to change in here because they are all going to map to here. But how would that work? Well, if I have different routes, how would I choose? Let's suppose I have a do get method here, okay? And the first most important thing we need to make in order to actually be able to choose between the routes is to get the route. So the request object, remember, this is the object that contains information about the request being made, and this response object is the object that's going to help us to actually set the response of this given request. Now, in the request object, we can get actually a request URI, and this is a string, and we can put in a variable. Let's call it URI, and this string is the URI of the request. So here we can use this to actually map things appropriately. So for example, we can do if, and we can check if this URI starts with, let's say, hello, because I'm not very creative, as we're already seeing. So we can say we have a /hello route, and we can also have another starts with here, and we can also have a goodbye route. So in this example, we have two routes, and before we would have two servlets and map everything in the web.xml file, and then I wouldn't know which URL is for which router and for each servlet, and I would need to actually go to this file to check it out. Here it's very easy to see. You can see there is something going to happen when I hit hello and something when I hit goodbye. And here we could map to a handler, we could map to our servlets, but for now, just for simplicity, let's actually just plug in here and let's just get writer and print hello. So this means we have access actually the hello route, and we can give it 200 status just to be set status, just to be perfectly safe here. And here, if we hit the goodbye, you know already, because I'm not very creative, we're going to say goodbye. Let's put some Y's there. Okay, so this is the very most simple, most basic concept of a router. We're mapping hello to a route, we're mapping goodbye to another route, and that's it. So let's test this. So remember, maven jetty run, we're going to always use this command, and let's start. Let's wait for the server to start, to boot up. Once that's done, we can go to our postman and we can test everything. So let's go there. Remember, we have mapped to our local host hello. So let's see if that's working. So we hit hello, we get the response, we have mapped to the hello, and if we go to goodbye, we go to the other route, we got another response. So this is the basic gist behind the router. Now we're going to improve upon that. We're going to actually, here we're going to call our servlets for now, and later on we're going to have even better stuff here. So this is the very basics of what we're going to do. And I think we have achieved our goal. So we have gotten away with the web.xml file. We still need to improve the file. So